New tonight, co-conspirators sentenced to prison for their roles in an investment scheme. One of the cases has ties to Nebraska. The Department of Justice says the two participated in a scheme to defraud thousands of investors of tens of millions of dollars between 2018 and 2022. 54-year-old Neil Suresh Chandran, a foreign national residing in Nevada and California, sentenced to 11 years in prison. 60-year-old Brian Lee of Las Vegas sentenced to 3 years. Following their sentencing, the U.S. attorney for the District of Nebraska said, quote, individuals who defraud victims in Nebraska and elsewhere will be held